Last night I put together this list of the biggest Flyers stories since 2010. And just off the bat, I'm going to tell you, Carter Hart situation, not on this list.
Yeah.
Because, listen, that's a huge story and it's a huge deal. But to put that on the same list as, like, the reveal of Gritty, I thought, like, was inappropriate, honestly.
Yeah, so, you're right.
Listen, we know about the Carter Hart situation, but this is everything else. Biggest Flyers story since 2010. And just to flash the graphics, like, we don't need to go through every single one, but, you know, I capped this, I bookended this list. The first thing I put on there, May 6, 2010, Flyers signed Sergei Bobrovsky. And spoiler alert, the last thing on this list is Bobrovsky's Panthers win the Cup. His backup goalie is a guy we got in return in the Bobrovsky trade. Like, we drafted him with one of the picks that we got for Bob. And Nick Cousins is on that team too, part of the Carter trade.
What was painful was Nasty Settlemyre from the Nasty Knuckles podcast. Great podcast, by the way, for Flyers fans. Well, he posted the pics with Bob when he was the what was he? He was like the equipment manager, right?
Yeah,
with the Flyers, and he's posting pics of him very young with Bob, and it was like, oh my God, he was actually in orange and black.
Yeah, man, it happened in that rookie year. Like, he wins that first game in his NHL debut, 29 saves against the Pens, goes on to put up a .915 save percentage. They win the Atlantic Division. Like, when's the last time the Flyers won the division? Like, that happened with a rookie goalie winning you 28 games. Like, the Bob stuff, that's 14 years ago at this point. You know, like, that's when that happened. And it all leads to, you know, getting Ilya Brizgalov and then the Richards and Carter trades. We know how all that ended. There is a good thing in there. The signing of Jágr.
Yeah,
like, that was, when I was going through this list, like, I almost forgot about it. I was like, oh, you know what? That was a great day.
Claude's best line mate.
Maybe. Like, honestly.
in Philly.
Yeah. That year, I mean, it's one of Claude's best years. And, like, I think Jágr had a lot to do with Giroux's development. I think he had a ton to do with Jake Voracek's development. Like, the Flyers got Jake in the Carter trade because it was like, oh, he's kind of disappointment since we drafted him. And then he became a point-a-game player. Like, he was right there with G. But, like, yeah, I thought that, like, Jágr, it's fun. He's a legend, and he was gone for 3 years, and then he came back to the Flyers, you know, the rival. He was one of the guys who tortured us for years. Like, that was just a cool moment.
For sure.
But we also were like, okay, we know he's 37, right? Like, we're not getting 26-year-old Jágr. We're not getting the MVP. But that was, like, of the 2011 stuff, that was an actually good moment. Like, that one was pretty cool. And then you move on through the years, like, the 2012 one. Like, after June 11th, 2012, after acquiring Jeff Carter at the trade deadline, reuniting him with Mike Richards, the Kings win the Stanley Cup. And that's going to be a running theme throughout this list and of things with this team. I know sometimes we look so much back with rose-colored glasses at these guys who, like, went on to win elsewhere.
Yes.
But goddamn, man, when you haven't won since 1975 and you have these players in-house and can't quite figure it out, and then they go on to win somewhere else, like, that does hurt. Like, I was very happy for Richards and Carter, and I was, at this time, 2012, 2014, wearing a Kings hat until they got rid of Paul Holmgren.
Oh, my God.
I was like, I think it was to the 2014 year. I was like, until they get rid of Paul Holmgren, I'm going to be wearing the Kings hat. And that's, you know, we go back to the Briz signing. It's like, how did these things work out? Well, like, you know, Bobrovsky won a Vezina in Columbus, and 2 years into a 9-year, $51 million contract, Brizgalov gets bought out. You know, we're going to be paying him through 2026, 27.
Oh, God.
He's just hanging out.
Paid.
Yeah, when he was, I think he was on an AHL stint before he came back up into the league after the buyout. He took all his teammates out to dinner, said, "This is on the Flyers, boys." And it was just like, man, we had the Russian goalie. The wrong one, though.
That mistake was humongous.
Absolutely. But eventually, Ron Hextall is named the Flyers general manager, and good things start to happen. Like, Shane Gostisbehere.
Were you optimistic when they hired Ronnie as a GM? Okay.
Yeah, because I liked, they said he had everything to do with, like, the development of, you know, the Kings core and all that. Like, he was integral in that, and okay, that's what we need. We need someone who can build up this young core. And his plan made sense to me at first because, like, it's something we hadn't done. And he did say, like, okay, we're not going to go out and spend crazy and try to compete for the cup every year. But then you look back and realize they didn't go all the way, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you needed to tear that thing down. And they just didn't. I wonder if it was Ed Snyder. I wonder if it was Comcast just being like, no. It seemed like a half measure at the time. You can compare it to this plan. I think they just have a better grasp. One, Ron Hextall's drafts were mostly disastrous. Like that's
true.
That's why it didn't work. Like German Rubtsov, Pascal LeBurge. Like these things were disasters. Jay O'Brien. Like we're getting a comp pick because Jay O'Brien ain't ever going to play in the NHL. Like just shit went wrong under Ron Hextall.
And Hextall was his coach.
In the beginning, things were like Gostisbehere when he won the national title with Union, and then his, of course, Richards and Carter win their second cup shortly after that. But like, they bring up Ghost. He has the crazy rookie year. Good stuff. We think something's happening, and yeah, not really. And you look back at some of the trades we made, like, oh yeah, we traded JVR for Luke Shen. Oh, we have to dump him with Vinny LeCavalier to get Jordan Wheel in a third. Like, you know, just like, oh yeah, all these trades really worked out. Just like this, the theme of this is just things we think that are going to go well that just absolutely freaking crash and burn. Like, we don't need to go through every item. Most of you listening lived through all this.
Already went through this pain to begin with.
We don't need to rehash it all, but we remember Nolan Patrick. I mean, winning that lottery was huge.
I was so pumped.
That draft party, our very first one. Make sure you come out Friday for our 7th draft party at Chickie's in South Philly. But our first one was 2017 at Smith's. Place was absolutely packed. Devils make their pick. All of a sudden, the whole bar is chanting Nolan Patrick. I couldn't hear. We're doing a live show. I'm like, I think they made the pick. I don't know. It was just so cool. We know how that worked out.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it was a great day in my career.
I did.
Everything after that sucked.
I did want Nolan Patrick over Nico Hischier to begin with.
I was a Hischier guy. I just kept reading about Hischier, and I just thought he was cool. Like, he skateboards and, like, plays soccer and other sports. I was like, this is fun. He just seems like a cooler guy to me. But it's not like we had a choice. Devils were picking one.
Yeah.
It was what it was.
They knew too.
You just go through all this, like, another fun day, I guess, all the way in 2018. Gritty revealed, you know? Like, that was something.
We were all like, what the F is this?
Yeah. 2 months after Gritty is revealed, GM Ron Hextall is fired. That was quite a day.
Yeah.
And when they brought in Chuck Fletcher, I will say, I had hope for one reason. They started treating us like we weren't the insane ones. They're like, no, Andrew McDonald does suck, and they bought him out. Like, they waived Yuri Laterra. They called up Carter Hart. We're like, these are all obvious moves. And they refused to do them for whatever reason, then eventually fired Dave Haxtell, also an obvious move. Mm-hmm. It was, okay, so I'm not insane. Chuck Fletcher at least has a grasp on this stuff. And he made some good moves. He had the one good off season, I thought. It led to a couple of good years, but ultimately, like, it all shit out. Yeah. And my favorite one, like the Ryan Ellis trade. Okay, man, we got out of the Nolan Patrick thing. Phil Myers didn't work out.
We got the next.
We got Ryan Ellis. Cool, man.
Got the next Niskanen for overall.
This is gonna work.
Yeah.
November 13th, 2021. Ryan Ellis records an assist in his 4th and final game as a Flyer.
That was in Dallas, right?
Like, Jesus, man. Like Giroux, his 1000th game, and trading Giroux, hiring Torts, I guess, was a fun day because, like, we all saw it coming, but it's John Tortorella. It's fun, even if it's sometimes really ridiculous. And it's just firing Chuck Fletcher, drafting Cutter Gauthier. Those things were fun. Then, you know, Cutter Gauthier gets traded because he don't want to play here. It was fun. Oh, man, we got the 5th overall pick. I'm watching those World Juniors this past, December, January. Like, this is going to be our guy. Nah, they traded him like 3 days later.
Yeah,
like, it
came out of nowhere.
A long list of shit, and it all ends with Sergei Bobrovsky's Florida Panthers, along with backup Anthony Stolarz, who the Flyers drafted with one of the picks they got in return for Bob, win the Stanley Cup.
You know what's painful about that? And to the Kings,
Nick Cousins also on that team.
And to the Kings' point as well, too, is like, dude, our guys go to these organizations who have been bad for so
Berube and
long.
Shen.
Yeah, the Blues one too. The Kings were like literally like they had the Gretzky days in the early 90s, right? The Florida Panthers has been a doormat for their existence. And these guys win championships with these teams, man.
I think all 3 were the team's first The Kings, it was their first cup. The Blues, I think, was their first one.
Which is crazy.
And Florida, it's definitely their first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Like, it's insane.
The team that hasn't won in 50 years is stocking the league with their first cups.
Great.
Maybe everyone.
Fan base.
I think there's 10 teams left that haven't won. And maybe everyone has to get one before the Flyers can go back. Being the first expansion team to win one, maybe now everyone has to get one. So
it's like when we were
Seattle, let's get moving here.
We did the same thing with the Eagles before 2017.
Yeah.
We were like, now Seattle just won a freaking Super Bowl. Oh my God.
I put this list together not to depress our audience, JP. But just to say, we fucking deserve something to celebrate.
Yes.
Flyers fans, man, if you have stuck with this team, and my God, if you're watching this show every day, thank you so much.
Yes.
I don't know how in this era of Flyers hockey, I have been able to turn talking into this team into like a successful career. It's fucking insane to me because like, thank you for being great fans. Anyone who ever questions Flyers fans, like you can't. I'm not even the team. I'm a guy who yells about the team. And
there's enough through the pain as everyone else.
There's enough interest still, despite 14 years of bullshit. Like there's enough interest to drive this can exist.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much, Flyers fans. We deserve this.
Yes.
We deserve Michkov coming over, and we deserve to celebrate it.
Yeah.
We deserve to be excited.
Yeah.
It's just been so long. Everything, even the things we got to celebrate, like Nolan Patrick and Ryan Ellis, all this shit, it all turned bad. Yeah. Sergei Bobrovsky, oh, that was fun. Yeah, it was for a year. Yeah. That was a great year, though. It was fun.
Well, I'm always going to compare this to like the process years because like obviously we're rebuilding. We're hoping that we get all these assets, all these young players that can hopefully, unlike the Sixers, bring us to a championship. But like, you know, with Michkov, like, dude, like this whole time, like I'm following Hockey News Hub and constantly, refreshing his page.
Love you, Hockey News Hub.
Yeah, seeing if he's got any news on Michkov, watching all those highlights on Twitter, like every little thing that any of our prospects, even like the guys in London, like I'm just watching and just seeing, and I have these visions in my head of hopefully we can hoist the Stanley Cup or at least go through a couple playoff runs because that's fun, Bill. These playoff runs are so fun, man. It's
just every year I watch that cup get presented, and like I just love it because hockey's awesome and the Stanley Cup rules and how much it means to them. They put their bodies on the line for this thing. Like you think about Matt Tkachuk last year playing with a broken sternum. Like his brother has to get him out of bed and dress him in the morning, and somehow he's going out there and playing NHL Stanley Cup hockey. Like it pays off. It's a year later, but he gets the reward for but part of me is always just like, God damn it, when's it going to be my time? When do I get to feel this for my team? Hopefully it's not another 50 years, JP. Hopefully it is sooner than later, and Michkov is the turning point for this organization. Again, I don't think it's right away. I don't even know if he wins the Calder this year. I'm hoping he's a finalist. Like he should be in the conversation because when he flashes, I hope it's hard.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just the sign that things might actually change because they haven't in so long. We've been through coaches. We've been through GMs. We've been through captains. We've been through an aggressive retool or two. We draft picks, the hope, goalies. And here we are back at square one, and we think we finally have the guy.
You know what I'm excited for? Is Michkov's first game at the Wells Fargo Center. Bill, that place is going to be sold out, and it's going to be like a playoff-like atmosphere.
And it's funny you mention that because at the draft party, one of the things we're going to be raffling off is a opening night tickets for this coming, I guess it'll be October, Wells Fargo Center. Our guy Vince is hooking us up. You're going to be in a club box. It's one of the many items you might be able to walk away with if you come to our draft party at South Philly Chickie's.
Be there
on Friday. That's this Friday, June 28th. Starts at 6. We're going to do a live show, giveaways, raffles, free food, I think drink specials, gritty. Going to be a good time.
Yeah,
going to be a real good time.
We all silly like the mayor.